The Kansas City Chiefs reveal their new plans that make their defense even better, and we're going to talk about it. Good morning, Chiefs Kingdom. How we doing? Welcome in to All Chiefed Up. Appreciate you guys being here this morning. It's Friday, baby, June 6th. It's the beginning of the weekend, Michael. It's the last day of the week. I'm sure everybody's ready for it. OTAs wrapped up this week the other day. There's been all kinds of stuff to talk about. We talked about Rashee Rice getting back and looking healthy. I made a short about that just came out an hour ago. You can go watch that when you're done with this. And we've talked about a lot of other things. But one thing we haven't got to, Mike, is the defense. And if you guys watching are anything like me or Mike, you've kind of wondered how they're going to structure this defense with the signing of Christian Fulton. Where's Trent McDuffie going to be on the outside? They're going to put him back in the slot. How's the defensive line going to look? There's lots of questions, a lot of rookies, a lot of young guys, new guys. So we started digging, right? And Spags actually hit the podium the other day. Charles Goldman, our buddy over at A to Z Sports, he had an article come out kind of summing up some of that. So we're just going to go through that today and talk about it and get your thoughts on the defense. But appreciate you guys being here. Do us a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't, and we'll get going here in just a second. Mike, how we doing this morning?
We're good. It's Friday. This is the day you live for, huh? Just partying for Friday.
Only half of it. Like, you want it to be the end of Friday so you can go home and enjoy your weekend.
That's true. Why is it, like, greatest country in the world, you live for one day a week? That Friday, Saturday. That's it.
They really got to start working on these 4-day work weeks.
Do you have the thing where, like, you know, you get off Sunday, but if you're like a worker, like, you know, a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday or whatever you are, you get the thing to where, like, you can't even enjoy Sunday because you just dread going to bed and getting up in the morning.
Yeah, that's kind of how it works, man. Before we get started, though, I want to go ahead and hit the chat a little bit, because our boy JCP's in the house letting the boy watch with a 5-bomb. Says, who's your favorite new player as of 2025? Let the boy watch, baby. Who's your favorite new player as of 2025? I don't know yet because I haven't got to really see it, so it's really difficult. But just like who I'm most excited for, honestly, it has to be one of the rookie defenders, either Ashton Gelati or Omar Norman-Lott. I think we need the help with pass rush. And I'm excited to see if maybe one of those guys can be as explosive as we think they can.
Yeah, I like that answer. I was going to say probably one of those two as well. I think the easy answer would be if you went rookies. A lot of people just obsessed over Jalen Royals right now.
Offense, baby.
That's easy to do. Yeah, that's easy to do, I guess. But, yeah, I'm with you, man. I do want to see what Josh Simmons can do. I'd be super happy if he could pan out there. But I'm with you. I like this defensive line stuff that they're working on, and especially with Cullen saying all he did the other day at the podium, different things. So we're going to get into all that. But I've been hyped about Omar Norman-Lott for a few weeks, and I found it really funny that Cullen come out and just completely took on Mike's side. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a Charles O'Menahue celebration because
real slow.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's another guy I'm actually excited about just to see if he can crack the 53-man roster, because I feel like if he can, I feel like he can contribute early, and that's Kozai Azar, the defensive tackle as well, still staying on that defensive side of the ball in the trenches. But what he was able to do at Penn State with high competition around him, like Abdul Carter, Chop Robinson, there were other guys, he was also contributing to that pass rush, getting home on the quarterback, got some speed, got some strength. And I think it would be really cool if he could make the squad to see what he could do. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on that one, too. Appreciate the 5-bomb, JCP. That's the way to get it started, baby. And then Doug, been a member for 21 freaking months. Let's go, Doug. He says, fabulous work, ACU. Thanks for all the info on all the Chiefs news. Appreciate you, Doug. Yeah, we've been putting out as much content as we can, trying to keep you guys entertained, trying to keep you up to date on everything, which I know you can just go on X or whatever and read the news, but it's not as fun as watching two slap nuts talk about it. So you can come over here and get some entertainment, and appreciate you guys watching and everything. And thanks for the dono, JCP. You guys are awesome. Hope you guys are doing all good this morning. It's a good day in Chiefs Kingdom, I suppose. We did talk a little bit about Jalen Royals leaving practice yesterday, or maybe it was the day before, I don't remember, with the foot injury. Well, we don't know if it was a foot. We know he had a foot injury in college, but he left the field in the 7-on-7 drills after getting overthrown by Patrick Mahomes on a deep ball. But I wonder if it has something to do with the foot. I wonder if it's just them being cautious. I wonder if it could have just been just a little hammy tweak or something. Like, who knows? But they didn't say anything, Mike, so it's all up for speculation. How much are you worried about that? Do you think it's a big deal? You think it's just them being cautious? What do you think it is?
I don't think it's a huge deal. Again, Matt Derrick, we had brought up what he had said because he was at the practice. We had brought up what he said during our video yesterday. He don't think it's a big deal. It didn't look like a big deal. So the fact that we've not heard about it to this point may be a good sign because, right. I mean, it could be one of those things where Monday just shows back up and he's back out there and nobody says a word about it. Now, if Monday shows up and he's on the sideline and Tuesday comes around and Wednesday comes around, he's not got back on the field yet, then you can start worrying about it a little bit because there's a difference between being cautious out of necessity or, you're not playing because you're injured, right? So
100%. Big
difference there.
Yeah, for sure. If you guys want to dig in more to that, you can go watch our video that we dropped yesterday. You'll see Jalen Royals and Jake Brenningstool on that thumbnail. Go check that out. And we're going to get to this freaking 50 bomb. Slow but sure. Let's go, baby. This is how we get it going this morning. Says, how's it going, ACU crew? Let's get this weekend started right with some Chiefs news. Let's go, man. It's awesome that football is kind of back. It's just OTAs, but it's kind of back because the last couple of months have been slow other than the draft. Of course, the draft is always fun, but it's very short-lived. You get 3 days, and then you get a little horned about the players, and then it's right back into the oblivion waiting for OTAs and camp and all that stuff. But we're heading there, slow but sure. Appreciate the 50 bomb, my man. That's freaking awesome. Goes a long way. Thanks so much for helping the channel out, brother.
Thank you,
and
sir.
Then we got Lisa with the 5 bomb. Says, heading to work, can't talk, love your content. Be careful, Lisa. Appreciate the dono, appreciate the kind words, and appreciate you just watching and supporting the channel. That's freaking awesome. And then JCP with the 2 bombs says, Brokeback Mountain, naked ACU crew, baby. Hey, if you watched our video yesterday, you know what JCP's talking about here. Otherwise, you're just going to have to go find out. Appreciate the 2 bomb, brother.
Do you remember when you guys giving me crap for watching Brokeback Mountain? Remember that? It was about 2 or 3 months ago. You guys were like, Mike, you've watched Brokeback Mountain? Yeah, I was watching it with Colquitt and a few
were
other
watching
guys.
Were you naked with Colquitt and everybody watching it? Is that what was happening? Are you admitting to this right now in front of God and everybody that you were doing that?
No.
Okay, that's what I thought.
I was in the closet. No.
That's what I thought. But let's go ahead and get rolling into the story that we're going to talk about a little bit. Just the defense. Yeah, we've kind of wondered how that's going to be structured and how some of these new guys are going to contribute and things like that since they've picked up Christian Fulton and, of course, drafted all these guys. DB with Noel Williams. We got some of the guys in the trenches with Ashton Gelati, Omar Norman Lott. And we finally got some light on the situation. It's nothing huge, but it's enough. And we heard from Spags. We heard from Dave Merritt. And let's go ahead and get into that. Let me get over to the story that we had from our boy Charles Goldman here from A to Z Sports. He said, Kansas City Chiefs coaches' mixed signals on Trent McDuffie's role are a hidden challenge to every cornerback on the roster. And you'll kind of see where he's going with that as we go forward. He says, when the Kansas City Chiefs signed free agent cornerback Christian Fulton, the predominant thought in Chiefs Kingdom was about veteran cornerback Trent McDuffie. Could McDuffie shift back into the slot with a greater regularity after playing more outside cornerback during the 2024 NFL season? Even Chiefs head coach Andy Reid recognized that the decision to sign Fulton gave the team more flexibility with McDuffie's role. With practices underway at OTAs, the Chiefs haven't overwhelmingly moved McDuffie into the slot. As Steve Spagnuolo noted following practice on Wednesday, it's an occasional occurrence instead of a fixed role for McDuffie. So there's your first clue. A lot of people thought the minute they got Christian Fulton, we're going to see Fulton, we're going to see Jalen Watson, and McDuffie's going back into the slot because that's where he's so great and that's where he was a first-team All-Pro at, you know? And that's not necessarily the case. It looks like that's going to be an occasional thing, and they're going to move the guys around a little bit, but we'll continue. It says the Chiefs clearly like what McDuffie is capable of when he plays in the slot, but right now they're waiting to see how all the puzzle pieces in the secondary fall into place. Historically, OTAs are very much about finding out what you have at positions like receiver and cornerback. And this is a quote from, I believe, Spags here. It says, yeah, listen, I thought in the past when we've had Trent inside, he's done some really good things. He's effective in coverage and blitzing. The pieces of where anybody will be determined by how it all shapes up on the outside corner spots. But it's nice to have Chamari Connor who can go in there. But Trent's pretty legit at that spot and how productive he can be. And that year, 2 years ago, when LJ was here and we moved Trent inside a little bit more, I thought he made a lot of plays in there. So, yeah, any surprise here? Like, we know Trent McDuffie was a first-team All-Pro slot corner. That's just where he thrives at. It's almost like, was it Kendall Fuller or one of those Fuller brothers that we had for a while that was just a really amazing slot corner, but he couldn't really do much on the outside. Now, Trent McDuffie plays on the outside well, too, so what do you kind of read into this? Do you think it's just them talking to talk, or do you think this is kind of what they're going with?
No, this is exactly what I said was going to happen. I wasn't convinced that you were going to have your highest paid corner, maybe the first corner in a long time, to get paid here in Kansas City and get that second contract, and you're just going to relegate him to the slot. It doesn't make any sense. If you're going to pay him like that, he's got to be an outside number one guy. I've said this over and over. Last year when people were complaining, well, McDuffie's got to get back in the slot. He's got to get back in the slot. Well, what are you saying? Are you saying McDuffie's not good enough to play on the outside? Because you have to, if you're going to pay a corner and he's your number one guy, you can't have your number one guy playing the nickel. You just can't do it. That's insane. So he has to play on the outside. Now, look, there's going to be certain packages, certain times where, yes, you can put him in the slot, you can blitz him, you can do things like that. That's exactly what Spags is saying. That's what Dave Merritt kind of echoed as well. That's what I said was going to happen, because you cannot just primarily pay Trent McDuffie the kind of money you're going to pay him next year, if you do it, and relegate him to just playing in the slot. It doesn't make any sense. He's going to play on the outside, and I think, if anything, the Christian Fulton signing was more of a detriment to not to Trent McDuffie moving spots, but I think that was a big sign to Jalen Watson and Josh Williams to, hey, get it together, both of you, because, yes, Jalen Watson had a pretty good year last year, but he's constantly injured, it seems. Like, that's something he can't really control, but that's going to go a long way when it comes to getting that second contract here. Josh Williams was in the doghouse, and then they solidified that by going to the draft and taking Noah Williams, which is a ball hawk. So they've got to – this is a big-time indictment of Watson and Williams. Is that draft class going to pan out to be horrible? Because I remember when they thought that was going to be a great corner draft class. And, yes, they've been productive, but are any of those guys going to get a second contract? And we've already seen Nazeeh kind of slip out to just basically being signed because he's a special teams guy. So,
right. Well, we'll get more to Nazeeh in a minute, actually. But, I mean, why would you strictly put Trent McDuffie in the slot position? It's kind of crazy to me, because he played on the outside in 2024. He was a top 3 corner in football if you go by all metrics. The only one that he was behind by PFF, by a lot of other people that grade this kind of stuff, was Sauce Gardner and Patrick Surtain second. That's it in all of football.
He's got some size issues, but
I understand that. There are some limitations there.
Yeah.
But even if there's size limitations, and that is a detriment in some cases when he's going against bigger receivers, like he has trouble with people like Cortland Sutton and people like that, But, he was still a top 3 corner in all of football playing the outside position, so it just seems silly to be like, oh, he has to go to the slot. Just because he was all pro there when he was a rookie doesn't mean that's what he has to do.
Well, before you go on, what kind of scared me in that whole entire situation was the overconfidence and the way they're hyping up Chamari Connor. And look, Chamari Connor was decent his rookie year. Last year, he was kind of had a little bit of a down year. This is a big year for Chamari Connor, in my opinion. They seem to have a lot of trust in him. They said he's had a good offseason, this and that, but he got torched last year a lot.
Yeah. I don't know if it's in the clips that I have, but in one of these stories that Charles wrote, he was talking about Spags bringing up Chamari Connor and how they're trying to find his place on the defense. Basically, he's lost in the sauce right now. They don't know if they want him at the nickel. They don't know if they want him at safety. They just can't find exactly where he wants to be, but they do know that he's a really good football player and a good athlete. And
this is kind of what you sign up for when you draft, not really, I don't want to say defensiveless guys, but you draft guys that are so versatile that you're like, maybe he could be like Snead. Maybe he could do this. Maybe he could play safety. That's kind of what Nazeeh was as well. Yeah,
Right.
they're kind of the tweener of the defense. And then you kind of get into this situation. This could happen with Jeffrey Bossa, too, in a few years. You could see this with him, them not figuring out what to do with him because he can play safety. He can play,
Well,
the outside linebacker position. He can do this. He can do that.
right. Well, let's keep moving along because we're going to talk a little bit about a couple things that you've already brought up, but we'll go ahead and move along. Chiefs defensive back coach Dave Merritt's hidden challenge to every cornerback not named Trent McDuffie. Ideally, McDuffie would play a more versatile role during the 2025 NFL season, but that might not be up to him alone. Chiefs DB coach Dave Merritt mentioned that McDuffie remains the team's number one outside cornerback. It's unlikely that will change, but some other players on the roster taking a step forward could force the issue. He says, Trent is still our number one at the outside position. This is Dave Merritt, by the way. I'm quite sure that Spags will put a little more emphasis on possibly trying to move Trent around if we can. But right now, Trent is our number one outside corner, and if we get to a point during the season where we can slide him in the inside, that'll be great. So I think what Charles was alluding to here was there was a hidden message for the rest of cornerbacks. Hey, if one of you guys can win one of these outside spots, then sure, we can use Trent McDuffie as a slot corner. We can do that.
In select situations.
Exactly. Otherwise, he's going to be out there. He's our number one outside guy. But let's keep going. He says one reason the Chiefs might not be comfortable and confident in committing to McDuffie in the slot in a full-time capacity right now is that they've yet to be fully healthy at the position. Christian Fulton, one of their possible starting cornerback options, has been limited throughout OTAs. We've also yet to see what rookie cornerback Noel Williams is fully capable of as he adjusts to the NFL game. I'm told that during Wednesday's practice, so this is the one I wanted to bring up, Mike, McDuffie, Jalen Watson, and Nazeeh Johnson were on the field together with the first-team defense at least a few times. McDuffie, of course, has been impressive during OTAs, recording interceptions in both practices open to media members. The one on Wednesday's practice came off a tip drill on a pass deflected by Johnson. The one last Thursday came on a shovel pass. So what do you take away from that? Because you just mentioned Nazeeh Johnson. He got cooked all last season. It was something that people were tired of watching. And they were like, to the point to where it's like, what did Josh Williams do to Spags to not be able to get on the field? Because Nazeeh's just not cutting it. And they're still going to him as first-team defense. Now, keep in mind, Christian Fulton, not fully healthy, that he's kind of been limited in practice. But are you reading any deeper into that, or do you think it's strictly because Christian Fulton's not fully active yet?
Yes, Christian Fulton's not fully active. When he's out there, it's going to be him. It should be him. Jalen Watson should probably have that third corner, and then, of course, McDuffie's the one. Look, I don't have anything against Nazeeh Johnson. I really do not. We've been supporters of Nazeeh Johnson. Last year, he showed his big-time limitations. There was people in the offseason even saying, look, he needs to go back to safety. There was people saying, get him off the field. He's getting torched. He's getting burned. And it was a common
Rightfully
occurrence.
so. Yeah.
It was a very common occurrence. Now, he was coming off of an injury last year. Maybe he was slowed down. I don't know. But the Chiefs have always, and the DB coaches, Spags included, have always, for some reason, had a more soft spot for Nazeeh Johnson because they like his technique better than other guys like Josh Williams. For some reason, Josh Williams, he played at a decent level. Again, you can say too many penalties, this and that. He's a big-time touch corner. He's physical. They're going to get hit with it. You're going to get hit with it. I'm sorry.
100%. L'Jarius Sneed was proof.
Right. So what he could control is maybe what he does on special teams. But special teams should have no bearing on how you're playing on the defensive side of the ball, because I don't care if you get a hold on a punt return and then it's going to cause me to have to play Nazeeh Johnson and then get burned for 60 yards.
If you don't like the penalty on special teams, then stop putting them out.
Don't play him on special teams.
Yeah,
so this is my question. Do you think Nazeeh Johnson is becoming almost like the Sky Moore of the defense? Like the coaches just are showing way too much faith in this guy, and the fans have already checked out.
Well, I'll take it one further. It's actually worse, in my opinion. And I'm not trying to shade Nazeeh Johnson or anything like that, but I would say it's a little bit worse because Sky Moore didn't get that many opportunities. It's like, hey, this isn't working, so screw it. We're just not going to use him.
I guess you're right.
And just every once in a while, we'll put him in and see what he can do, and then he don't perform and take him back out. They just continuously put Nazeeh Johnson on the field over and over and over again, and to a detriment last season. There were plenty of games where he was picked on basically by other quarterbacks and targeted a lot. And I mean, they were pretty successful against him. He had a rough year, and now he was coming off an injury and things like that, and he's still a young guy. So I'm not saying that he can't get better and he won't be good, but I feel like they've kind of thrown him in there a little bit much for what he's been able to produce so far, in my opinion. Especially with guys over there that you could have been checking out, like Josh Williams. I mean, yeah, a lot of people said, oh, he gets too many penalties, this or that. That's nonsense. It's complete nonsense. It's just an excuse. No one really knows why they weren't going to him. I don't know if it's his knowledge of the defense. Maybe he's just not grasping the concepts right. I don't know. But physically, he's the better athlete of the two. Might not be as fast because I think Nazeeh Johnson's like 4'3" guy, right? But he's got the size, he's got the length, he plays physical, he does everything that you want one of those guys to do, and usually what Spags and Dave Merritt want. So it's been a little confusing. And now you got Noah Williams in the mix, Christian Fulton in the mix. It's just, I just didn't know if there was anything to that, or you think it's just because, well, Christian Fulton still not completely healthy. Noah Williams is a rookie, still trying to find his place. Let's just go ahead and go back with what we were doing last year for now.
I think that's exactly what it is to a certain point, because you can't really look. Noah Williams isn't ready to be put in there with the first team. He's probably just not ready. Of course, they're not putting Josh Williams in as number one, because for some reason Josh Williams is like the worst corner in the history of football that they drafted in the 4th round. But here's what I think that they could be doing. You could be letting Nazeeh have more and more and more looks, because his job's in jeopardy. So they may just be giving him a fair shake, because when Noah Williams comes up to speed and you get Christian Fulton back in there and he gets up to speed, Nazeeh might be fighting for a roster spot.
I would be very freaking surprised if Nazeeh's playing at that point. Like, at least to the extent that we saw last season.
Like, they signed him back because he's a nice special teams guy. But you can't make a team just strictly for special teams, in my opinion. We're too deep of a roster at this point. You may have done that 5 years ago. Right now, you cannot just make this team because you're pretty good on punt return coverage.
Right. Let's get to the chat for a quick second. Ron says Josh Williams didn't do anything that bad for us to watch Nazeeh get cooked that much. That's 100%, and I think that's kind of the sentiment that everybody has. What we're saying anyway. I mean, how bad could it have got? It wasn't like it was going to get much worse. So, and then Buck and Bob in the house says, I guess we found out Dave Merritt's fighting Spags on moving McDuffie back to the middle. Yeah, I don't know if there's like really a struggle there or not. I think Spags is more maybe at the pressers. I feel like Spags is more broad. I feel like he doesn't say as much, and Dave Merritt's just kind of more straight to the point kind of guy. But I think they're probably both on the same page with McDuffie being that number one outside guy. I'd almost bet it. I just don't, like Mike said, if you get that kind of performance, you're going to end up paying this guy a ton of money to keep him there probably. You're not going to put him in the slot all the time. It's just not going to happen. But appreciate you, man. And then, Mike, I hear a trainer rolling in. Do you hear that? Can you hear that? Do you hear it at all?
No. I do now.
I just wanted to see how long you would do that. Chief DeLorean with the 5 gifted memberships. Appreciate you, brother. If you get one of those memberships, thank him in the chat. Thanks for doing the Lord's work, Chief DeLorean. Yeah, if you want to become a member, if you don't get one of those free ones, and you're not poor, you can go to join.allchiefedup.com, and it's $4.99 a month to become a member, and you get some cool emojis, you get some members-only live streams. I think we're going to start doing some maybe members-only videos soon, early releases. We got some ideas. We just got to get it all structured, and once we get it all together, there's going to be a lot of cool little things for the members. So if you'd like to do that, you can go over to join.allchiefedup.com, and once again, shout out Chief DeLorean for gifting out 5 of those bad boys. Let's go. All right, man. Well, that kind of sums up what we can really talk about with the cornerbacks, right? So looks like it's going to be Trent McDuffie, still number 1 corner on the outside for the foreseeable future. I think that's just what it is. We'll see what happens with Christian Fulton. We'll see what happens with Noah Williams if he gets a shot. We'll see if Spags still has Josh Williams in the doghouse, or if Nazeeh Johnson's going to be out there getting cooked. So we'll find out.
Before you move on, they took 10 DBs last year. 10. 6 corners, 4 safeties. If they take 6 corners again, right now, who do you think's the 6 in your opinion? Who would you give the 6 to? I mean, obviously McDuffie. Fulton's not going nowhere. And I think
Yeah.
Jalen Watson's kind of locked in the number 3 in my opinion.
It's hard to say at this point because you haven't got to see some of these guys like in any capacity. It's
Right.
all projection, right? So I mean, I would assume it's Trent McDuffie, Christian Fulton, Jalen Watson, Noel
I don't
Williams.
think you cut Noel Williams. Yeah.
And they'll keep Nazeeh Johnson, probably Josh Williams. Who else do you throw in the mix? You got Major Williams. You got, I'm probably forgetting somebody. Chamari Connor's got to find a spot, whether it's in corner or defensive back or the safety.
Last year they
room.
listed him as a corner. He did not make it as a safety.
So,
I mean, they put DB is what they put.
Well, they could kind of interchange him. And, I mean, there's still a couple other guys, Mike. I don't know what they want to do with Glendon Miller, but I think he's kind of cool prospect. He can do cornerback or safety. I don't know. There's some guys there. So I don't know. I think it's too early to know. I think they probably will go with 6 corners, but last year you said they went with 5?
No, it was 6 and 4.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so
And so
be
look,
interesting to
Justin
see
Reed's gone now. So I mean, the safety position's kind of, people's not completely sold on that one, but like you said, you think Edwards is going to be there, Cook's going to be there, Jaden Hicks is going to be there. Do you let like a Chamari Connor, like a safety like that, or maybe even Nazeeh that can play a little safety? Do you take that and you go with just more corners, or do you think they just go ahead and stick with the 4 safeties and just go with 6 corners? I don't know. And again, you could have guys being trade candidates. Would it surprise you if they were to like deal? I think it would surprise me if they dealt Jalen Watson, even though he's the most valuable of the guys getting ready to come up on contract stuff. But would it surprise you if maybe they dealt a Josh Williams in the offseason? That wouldn't surprise me.
Well, what are you going to get for Josh Williams? You haven't even let him play. So I mean, really, what do you got
you're looking to get back like
I would feel
6th-round
more,
pick, 7th-round pick.
Yeah,
again.
see, I feel like they could come more shopping Jalen Watson if they were going to go that route. So I don't really know if they will.
What do you feasibly get for him though?
I don't know. Tony says, "Good morning, Mike and Steve at work, sneaking a glimpse of the show. This is what I'm talking about right here. You should be more like Tony. If you're at work, just quit working, get paid to watch All Chiefed Up. Sneak over there, watch it, do what you gotta do. Now, stay safe now, but get paid to watch All Chiefed Up. Why not? Talk Chiefs football. Yeah, man. I don't know. Bob makes a good point in the chat. He says he thinks people confuse McDuffie being in the slot as he'd be there all the time. Of course, it just means when they're in nickel coverage, he'd be slid into the slot. Yeah, they're going to move around. That's the whole point. And I think you're right. I think people have a misconception that there's just this one spot that everybody's going to be at, and they move around a lot in this defense, and they're going to continue to do that. But I think on the majority of the time, McDuffie is that number 1 outside guy, and that's all they were trying.
I mean, you've also just got coverages. You can have the same personnel on the field, and you can show 2 high. You can drop back to 1 high. You could put an extra guy in the box. You could play a cover 3. You could play zone. You played man. You move all over the field. Quarters. You could do everything. So he could be lined up in the slot or the outside and still not really cover certain things. So it's all just nuanced. It's not like you're just you're right there. And that's
they
where
also
you're
move
be.
around a lot. Spags likes to disguise a lot of things, and he likes to trip teams up. And I mean, if he's going to have McDuffie blitzing, sometimes it's better to be in that slot position. So I mean, you just got different guys at different places at different times for different reasons. So, but ultimately, I think we know where their head's at with the cornerbacks. So let's move on to the rookies, man. I'm pretty excited about the rookies. I know you guys are too. First of all, I want you guys to put in the chat who you think would be the 5 and 6 on the cornerbacks, by the way. Like, who's going to make the back end of that roster? If we say Trent McDuffie, Christian Fulton, Jalen Watson, and Noel Williams are 4 that are definitely going to make the team, which we know there's a couple others that are definitely going to make the team more than likely. But just put in the chat who you think is going to make the back end of that corner room, because that's going to be a fun thing to watch. But moving along, let's talk about the rookies, man. If you like the rookie draft class, by the way, hit that freaking like button, because I think Brett Veach knocked it out of the park. Now, we don't know yet for sure, because it always takes a few years to find out, how that goes. But so far, I'm pretty excited about what he has, Mike. And, Spags got to talk about him a little bit. And, of course, Charles Goldman did a story about that as well. I took a couple clips from his story just so we could discuss it. But they were kind of saying that they just all have one specific trait, that all of them have one specific trait in common. Like every one of those, regardless of position, they all had one trait that was in common, and they found very, very important, man. And we'll talk about that in a second. But how do you like the draft class overall? I know you gave it an A. You think it was a good, and let's just stick it to straightly defense, though. Let's take Jalen Royals off there. Let's take off Josh Simmons and just talk about the defense with Omar Norman Lott.
Don't forget about
Ashton
Rashard
Gelati.
Smith.
Yeah. Ashton Gelati and then Noel Williams. We're just gonna and Jeffrey Bossa. Let's focus on the defense for now, since this is kind of a defensive episode here. What do you think about them in particular? If you take out all the offensive pieces, what would you grade the draft with those guys?
I like that defensive draft, in my opinion. I was decently big on Omar Norman Lott. I thought he was I think he was number 36 on my big board, maybe 35. I mean, it's been a few weeks now. But he was right there. He was a borderline first-round pick for me. Again, they come out with this thing, he can't play defense. He's a rotational player. He can't play run defense. BS. Like, it was crap. The other knock, he's not explosive. What are you talking about? Like, this guy lived off being in the backfield. He had the highest pass rush win rate of any defensive tackle in college. And he was being rotated, which means he didn't even play a lot of snaps, like, compared to some of these other guys. But that's just the way Tennessee does it. They've got a weird offense. Josh Heupel runs a weird offense. They run a weird defense. It's a hockey-style thing. They'll take 4 off, 4 on, whatever, the whole line. I wasn't super concerned about Omar Norman Lott, but where he fell a little bit was they come out with these knee injury thing, this phantom knee injury. Could be chronic. They kept using the word chronic, and that's what they did with Jalen Royals and this and that. Maybe Brett Veach was the one floating the rumors, to be honest, because we're the ones that picked up all the knee injured players. So it is what it is. I liked him. I thought Gelati was a little bit of an overdraft in the 3rd round, but at the same time, I'm kicking myself every single day because when I watch the film of Gelati, in my head, he was a little small. And I didn't think he was a Spags prototype. And what I was doing was I was looking at some of the stats that wasn't the official stats. The weigh-ins and
that
stuff.
Too, and it's real easy to get yourself in a box with crap like that. See, I'm not big on the arm length and the this and the that.
And I'm a
because
little,
I feel like you can kind of box yourself in.
Yeah, there was a few metrics I didn't love with him, and I didn't think he was a Spags guy. When I see that Spags took him, and I go back and watch, I'm like, how did I miss that he was not a Spags guy? He's like more of a little like 4-eye kind of guy. He kind of did what Felix did. I want to say he's kind of similar to that. And also they were experimenting on putting Gelati all the way down to the DT spot a little bit at U of L. Not to mention his coach, Jeff Brom. This guy is the one that brought George in. Like, this is all coming full circle. I just think that I'm kicking myself over missing that one. Is 3rd round still a little rich for him? Possibly so. But I'm not going to say that because I think he's got a lot of juice. I want to see what he can do. And then, like you said, I really like the Noah Williams pick. I think it was a good defense. I really like Jeffrey Bossa. He's one that kind of gets forgotten about. He's kind of the one pick that everybody wasn't like super horned up and excited about to a certain degree. But I think Jeffrey Bossa could play. I'm excited to see what he can do, and he may be one of the most fun ones to watch out of all this. So I still give the defensive draft, I'd say like the defense probably a B+. I think the Josh Simmons snagging him and then snagging Royal so late, that's what threw it to the A category for me. So I would say like a B to a B+, and they could play themselves up higher than that.
Yeah, so the only thing I really have to say in response to all that you just kind of laid out there, I think Ashton Gelati, you said you feel like it's a bit of an overdraft, and maybe it is, maybe it's not, but I do know that a lot of stuff came out after the fact that Brett took him in 3rd round there. There were 4 teams after Ashton Gelati trying to trade up and get him when Brett drafted him. So
yeah, I'm not saying it's an overdraft for the Chiefs because they know things that everybody else
I mean,
know.
a lot
I'm
of
saying from the analysis point of view, people thought that was an overdraft.
Well, that's the thing. Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, so, like, guys that are not actually part of the NFL, not scouts, not parts of the teams that are just, like, analyzing the draft, like people like us or people like Mel Kiper or whoever, whatever level you want to talk about, they might have all had Ashton Gelati at a fourth round pick or something like that. But that's not how the scouts saw him. There were 4 teams after Ashton Gelati trying to trade up to get him, and Brett Veach snagged him. So I think that that's something that people should think about there because, I mean, let's be honest here. The NFL scouts, they're probably a little more knowledgeable than, the guys at the desk with the suits and ties on, like Mel Kiper, or Mel Gibson is what I wanted to call him for some reason. He's not that cool, man. Mel Kiper's a little bit of a nerd, but let's get to the chat just real quick. Got a 2-bomb from Shane. Says working, not watching. Just wanted to say hi, y'all. Appreciate you, Shane. Thanks for the support, brother. And I think you should take a break. Just take a break and watch some All Chiefed Up. Talk about Chiefs football. You're working too hard, Shane. Buck and Bob with a 10-bomb. It's the best podcast in the kingdom. Thanks for you for all the hard work and for the kind advice you guys give me. Appreciate the support, man. And the kind words. Yeah, I mean, we'll help however we can. So if you ever have any questions or anything, just where to shoot us a message, man. And appreciate all your support over the last few months. You've been awesome, bro. But yeah, let's talk about how the coaches see these rookies. In particular, Steve Spagnuolo. We'll get to that. I've been talking about it for a second, so let's go in. He says when all 4, Omar Norman-Lott, Ashton Gelati, Noel Williams, and Jeffrey Bossa of these guys kind of came in, I was happy to get all 4 of them. I thought they were all similar in that when we evaluated them and talked with them, they all have football get it, or basically they're super knowledgeable in football. And he said they all love the game of football. He went on to elaborate, man, and a lot of other people were talking. Sometimes it's, it can be about the metrics. It can be about the stats. It can be about this or that. But sometimes it's more important that guys just absolutely love the game of football. They're passionate about it, and they get it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a big thing, and I think that we've seen that play out a lot. I mean, you keep seeing people in the chat talk about Josh Williams. Well, he just don't get it. He's dumb, or he don't know the defense, or this or that. You see people saying things like that all the time, and maybe there's some truth to that. And I think that Spags just is really excited about the football IQ of the guys that they drafted for the defensive side of the ball. That's pretty important.
I think I don't know how you could call Josh Williams dumb.
I was just using it for example. You don't have to go into that, but let's talk about the rookies.
Well, I'm just saying, I don't see how you could. It's tough to say anybody's dumb. If you're that stupid and you can't figure out the playbook, you wasn't making the team in the first place.
Right.
So I feel like 4 years in, like, I just do not feel like you're just not in the right spot. Like, if you're 4 years in, you're not in the right spot, you're getting cut. Like, so I just don't see that being as big of a thing as people try to make it out to be. Now, what they'll do is they'll go watch somebody analyze film 4 days after the fact, some person that's not even close to being on the team or knowing what the design is or anything, and then they'll say, he was in the wrong spot right here, and they have no clue. And then you'll just take it to heart, right?
Right. Yeah, man. But I think sometimes there's a difference between, I know the playbook, I'm doing this and that, or just actually getting it and just being a natural at the sport. I think that's what Spags is getting at. He feels like these guys are just very knowledgeable. They love the game. They're passionate, and they're just natural football players. So we'll move on. He talked a little bit more about Gelati and some of the other guys here. He says, I really like I think Ashton Gelati is a really good knee bender. I think Omar's got a lot of power to him. Jeffrey Bossa is a change of direction guy and really smart. I don't know if you guys noticed in the rookie minicamp, but we put Jeffrey Bossa at Mike linebacker. We knew he was going to be outside, but he learns the whole defense. I thought he did a great job at that. And then we've talked about Noel Williams, so I'm hoping all those guys can help us. We'll see. So he sounds very optimistic about what these guys are going to be able to contribute early. And you kind of hit the nail on the head with Jeffrey Bossa. A lot of people don't talk about him, but he's been like on Spag's hip the entire OTAs. Spag's sitting here talking about how he's learned the whole defense, or like at Mike linebacker, how smart he is. So I think that's something that people can't underestimate. But then he also talked about Norman Lott's power and what Ashton Gelati's able to do. So I think he's putting some stock into these guys. I think he thinks that they can contribute early.
Bossa can be moved anywhere. I already said that. He can play safety. He played safety before. He can
Right,
play outside.
He's a converted
he
safety.
can play inside. He can do just about anything. He can rush the passer. I'm almost positive you could put him on the outside and let him just beat somebody to death, and they may not get a pass completion, depending on how slow your receiver is out there. But look, Jeffrey Bossa is just a football player. He's a good football player. I think he's here to eventually take Drew Tranquil's spot. I think Drew Tranquil proved last year that he's a decent signing. He was pretty good in his first year. He got a lot more stuff thrown at him last year, and I thought he caved a little bit under the pressure. He didn't perform as much as you've seen him perform. And I like Drew Tranquil, but he's got to pick it up this year. He's in the last year of his deal, right? Did he sign one last year for 3 years?
It was
I think he extended last year, didn't he?
Yeah.
So he was signed for 1 year, then he extended. So he's only got 2 more years here. So I would think Bossa by the end of next year could probably come in and take that role. I think that's what they drafted him for. He's like
I think a lot of people want to see an expanded role for Leo Chanel too.
You got to have that, especially with Leo only getting 40% of the defensive snaps. You got to start using these guys a little bit. But I think Bossa's way more athletic than Leo Chanel, and that's saying something because Leo's pretty athletic.
I don't think he's more athletic, but I think he's probably a better coverage guy.
I think Jeffrey Bossa is a lot more trusting when it comes to athleticism.
It depends.
You don't think so?
I guess it's the
his
perspective
metrics were
thing.
off the charts.
Yeah, if you go to Leo Chanel, though, he was a 9.98 out of 10 on a RAS score. So, I mean he's pretty wild,
I guess
too.
so. But I'm talking about football, are you going to put Leo on agility, an island and make him cover slot receiver?
Right, no.
But Jeffrey Bossa, I could probably see that.
Yeah, understood. It's about perspective or how you're talking about it. But 10 Bomb from Alexis from Texas here says, I got my posters, Mike. Thank you. I appreciate you both. Appreciate you for watching and supporting the channel. 10 Bomb's freaking awesome. Glad you got your stuff. And then we got Tony with the 5 Bomb supporting your boys here. Let's go, Tony. Appreciate you guys a lot, by the way. Thanks for supporting the channel. It goes a long way. We're going to pound out content as much as we possibly can and really try to push this thing over the top this coming season. And we're getting started now here in the off season. So we got a long way to go. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, go do that. We're going to be doing a lot of content, having a lot of fun. This entire season is going to be a good ride. So join in. But yeah, man, I think it just depends on which way you're talking about that with Jeffrey Bossa, Leo Chanel, and all that. But overall, I'm more excited. Like I already mentioned that with Shane's question earlier, but I'm just super excited about the defensive line this year. I think we might be able to get more out of them than we have in previous years. Lately, it seems as if, Chris Jones is that guy that you depend on to be clutch and make the big plays in big situations and get your sacks. But George Karlaftis was our sack leader last year. It's just kind of been them two. We saw a flash of Charles Omenihu a couple of years ago. But otherwise, it's just been a letdown with Felix. It's been maybe we shouldn't have extended Mike Dana for as much money as we did, because he's not producing. I mean, I like Dana, and he does things well, but I don't know to that extent. We just really don't have that other guy that's really putting any pressure on quarterbacks or anything. So Chris Jones kind of gets wrapped up in double teams constantly, which is probably always going to happen. But now you got Omar Norman Lott, extremely explosive first step, a lot of power, and can get after a quarterback. You got a UDFA with Kozai Azard, same way, can get after a quarterback from the defensive tackle position. And then you kick it to the outside. I think Ashton Gelati, it's funny because if I thought Felix was a good prospect. As a first round pick, I wasn't sure about it, but I kind of had a feeling they were going to take him there at the end of the first round in that hometown draft. But in all honesty, I feel like Ashton Gelati might be a little bit more exciting than Felix was coming out. And this is coming from a 3rd round guy as opposed to the end of the 1st round there. I don't know if he's as polished as Felix was as a pass rusher, but you see that didn't really translate. I think Ashton Gelati's got him beat in a couple other areas. Right.
You hit the nail on the head. I think, in my opinion, Felix looked more polished coming out, but he did not show the juice that Ashton Gelati did. And I don't really think he showed
I
don't think he showed the actual versatility of Gelati either. I will say there was times that I was a little disappointed because Gelati could have had, I think he had 11 and a half sacks at U of L last year. He could have probably had 16 or 17, but he was a step slow every once in a while. Now, look, I'll say this. He was chasing after Cam Ward Miami. Turned out to be a number 1 pick. I watched him versus, I don't remember who the other guy was watching, but he was decently mobile.
Some mobile quarterbacks.
So there was a couple times that he looked a little slow to me in some of the games I watched. Because look, if I was going to watch Ashton Gelati film, am I watching U of L versus Tennessee Chattanooga week 2, or am I watching versus Miami week 7? I'm going to go watch him play Cam Ward and Miami. There's more NFL caliber talent there. So when I watched him come around the edge a few times and get shook and not make the sack on Cam Ward, I didn't watch all single games. Nobody watches every single game they have unless you're getting paid for it, like the Chiefs. So, like, trying to squeeze in 350 guys, you're watching select games. And in that game, he looked a step slow. And I guess that's where I kicked myself, because I'm like, I should have watched more film on him, because I should have recognized that was Cam Ward, the number 1 pick, and you were just going to be a little slow. And I come off and said, maybe he's not as explosive as I'd like. But the more you did go back and dig in, he's very explosive. So that's what I'm saying. Like, that's a lesson learned when it comes to watching film and things like that. So
it's kind of like with George Karlaftis. I mean, it's really easy to be like,
right. I had a George Karlaftis vibe with him.
George is a half step slow, right? We say that all the time. Like, if he could have a half step, if he was a half step faster, he could be absolutely elite.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, he's going against guys like Lamar Jackson. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's the same
exactly.
thing.
And that was why I was a little bit irritated with myself, because I was like, come on, you shouldn't have just said because he give me George Karlaftis vibes. And it makes sense. The dude comes out of the same system that Purdue ran with Jeff Brom.
Yeah.
And so it makes total sense there why I went to that. And I wasn't even thinking all that in the moment. Like, I just seen, like, this guy kind of plays like George. And then I was like, are the Chiefs going to draft another guy that plays like George? Like, do you want another guy that's just kind of solid, not explosive enough?
I would love to have as many George Karlaftis with the motor and the work ethic and stuff like that.
That's what you love, but he wasn't ever giving you, like, that huge burst, like, pop off the edge, right?
Right. I mean, they're definitely not like Max Crosby level stuff. And that's the thing that I think that sometimes you lose sight of. There's not that many of those in the league. You know what I'm saying? Like,
George
there's a handful
very
of guys.
Borderline being right there on the great. Like, he's right under elite. I don't know if he's ever going to get to elite, but he's right under great. Because, like, Charles Goldman.
He's definitely towards the upper echelon.
Right. Like, Charles Goldman had come out with a comparison the other day where he compared him to Aiden Hutchinson. And I cringed at that a little bit. George has played, like, literally a full season more games when you count the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And he was like, he's got just as many sacks as Aiden Hutchinson. I'm like, Aiden Hutchinson's not played 17 extra games, and Aiden Hutchinson never had Chris Jones in the middle securing double teams every day. So, like, I thought that was a little off. I didn't like that comparison. I thought that was a little...
a pretty big gap there.
That was a big
same draft, right?
thing.
Talking
but
about
it had
a
lot of
one,
people.
You're talking about a number 2 pick to a number 30 pick.
Right, but
there.
you still had a lot of people like, see, George is like super elite. Super elite. And I'm like, come on.
I love George, and I think he's right there. But I think that he could definitely, man, I'm telling you.
George is better than good.
Half step, baby, and he'd be
He's
just
a
elite.
great player. He's not a top
love George
5 to 7 guy in the league just yet. Now, he could get there because he's got that work ethic and he's got everything.
I mean, in the same breath, I can easily say he's one of the most underrated pass rushers in the league.
I love George Karlaftis. Yeah. Dude, he's been one of my favorite
He don't get enough credit
in a long time, man.
Yeah. Warpaint says, extremely excited about shoring up the D. How do you guys feel about the division overall? So yeah, I think the division has been slowly getting better. So there were a lot of years of bad football from Denver, a lot of years of bad football from the Raiders as well. And now I think that Denver, they're doing it the right way all of a sudden. Instead of just throwing stuff at the wall or paying a bunch of people or trying to make little super teams as fast as you can in the offseason, they've kind of gone a different route. They went and got a head coach that knows what the hell he's doing. He's proved it before in New Orleans. They're team building now. They've gone and got a decent quarterback in the draft. They didn't overshoot it. They didn't try to get someone flashy. They got Bo Nix, who can run that offense. And he, like I said, he's nothing flashy, but he gets the job done. He can do a lot of things well. They're starting to build. They've got a great defense, and they keep adding to it. If you watched in the draft this year, I don't think anyone expected them to take Jahdae Barron in the first round, but they did, even though they already have Patrick Surtain, Riley Moss. They got a good defense, and then of course their pass rush is no joke with Nick Benito and those guys. So I mean, I think they're still going to have one of the best defenses in football. So they're building their team the right way to get back competitive with the Chiefs, because I think they're tired of being beat by them over and over and over again. This loss we just took to them last season or the season before, whenever Mahomes was sick. That was the only loss we took to Denver in like 10 years, it seemed like. So they're building their way back into being competitive. And then I think the Raiders are trying to take a page from their book, because they've kind of stopped doing what they were doing too, and they're also going that direction. They went and got Pete Carroll, and now they're just putting pieces into place. I thought they had a really good draft. Of course, they got a generational talent at running back. We'll see how that works out for them. They've still got to figure out the quarterback situation. They got Geno, though, who is a very underrated quarterback. He's not flashy at all, but he's going to get you over 3,000 yards passing every year, and just a good game manager. So I think they're doing things the right way there now too. So they're going to start being more competitive as well. And then of course you got the Chargers, who are just the Chargers, but they also kind of took that route too, because they were chargering with Brendan Staley, but they turned around and said enough is enough with that crap. And they got Harbaugh there now. He's more of a ground and pound type guy, defense guy. And they still have Justin Herbert, who has all the talent in the world. So if they can build that team, man, it's getting a lot more competitive. It's going to be a lot harder for the Chiefs to roll off these AFC West championships every year.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the AFC West is slowly. They went from like dog water to slowly. They're up. I mean, they're like the sparkling water now. Like we're way up there.
I still fully expect the Chiefs to win the division.
Yes.
But it's not going to be as easy as it has been in years
It's the
past.
Chiefs division to lose, but you mentioned like even the Raiders. I thought the Raiders had a very good draft, and you've seen it because Pete Carroll comes in and they go out and they get Geno, and like you said, he's not the greatest QB in the world, but he gives a little bit of he solidifies the offense a little bit. I think for a few years now, you don't have to are they playing Gardner Minshew? Are they playing?
You don't have to go try to spend a draft pick on Shadur Sanders and hope he don't suck,
Right. So you've got him, and again, he throws a pretty good deep ball. He's going to be in a dome now. He's played with Pete Carroll time and time again. They ended up drafting Ashton Genty. They had a good draft, dude. They got Darian
and they
Porter
got
in
an
the
absolute
third round.
unit last year with Brock Bowers, bro.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah,
So
they're putting
they took
together an
Darian-
offense.
Yeah, they took Darian Porter in the third round this year. Like, they were all over some of the good picks, eyeing the guys that we thought the Chiefs should be looking at. They ended up taking a few of them. They did a pretty good job. I would say the weirdest pick they took was J.J. Peegs in like the 6th round, I think, out of Ole Miss. That was kind of odd. Other than that, though, the Raiders had a good draft. And like you said, I think Hardball's over there in L.A., he's a lot better than Brendan Staley was. So he's adding to that. I think they're just going to continue to get tougher. I think they're going to get tougher as a football team. They're going to get more physical. He's going to start implementing more and more of that running style into that. And then again, like you mentioned, the Broncos, Sean Payton, dude, you've got Hall of Fame head coaches in the AFC West.
AFC West is loaded. And
I think we've got 4 Hall of Fame head coaches.
You've mentioned it before, but like when Tom Brady was going through his whole dynasty mode and all throughout his career, it was like his division literally sucked. They laid down and took it the whole time. The AFC West has not been doing that. They have been signing people like crazy. They've been trying to put together anything they can, but now they've kind of figured out we can't quick fix this. Like Patrick Mahomes and Chiefs are too damn good. We can't go out and sign 4 or 5 high profile guys and hope to God they're going to beat them. That's not working.
The Raiders were actually the team in the 3rd round. They took Darian Porter, and 3rd round took Charles Grant from William and Mary. It's as though it's as though Pete Carroll watched our show and was like, these guys said that these guys are 3rd round picks the Chiefs should look at. I'm going to go steal every one of them. Like,
yeah,
it was wild how decent they drafted.
Like I said, I think they're doing it the right way now, so it's going to get a lot more competitive. Julia says, "Didn't you hear the Chargers got the West already?" Of course, it's off season.
Oh yeah,
they're the champions of the AFC West in the off season every year. And she also asked, "Can we expect anything for Omenihu? Is he going to show up? What do you think, Mike? Do you think Omenihu does well this year? Because I have a feeling like if he's gonna do it and he's going to get back to that caliber he was for those 6, 7, 8 games that he played the year that he got injured in the playoffs." I think it has to be this year, man. He's got to make his contract money, and that's what
I
he's
think
all
Charles
about.
Omenihu will be decent this year. I do.
I think so.
I think he will. Look, I don't know if he hits double digits, but I think he might get close. That's what I'm hoping because, like you said, he's got to do it. This guy thinks he's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He didn't get it. He's not going to get it. You got to prove it on the field. You can't just say it. Like, I get it.
Right.
There's a thing between being confident and playing well and just hyping yourself up. And then there's some delusion. And I think the delusion was what you've seen with Shadur Sanders. I think the league's kind of had enough of the delusion.
Right.
Like, I think they were putting their foot down there. But, like, if you could come in and back it up now, delusion turns into, hey, I told you so, and then you get big payday.
Right. So, and Charles Omenihu proved in a small sample size that he fits really well into this defense, and he can get the job done. Because he did a damn good job the year that he was suspended. I think it was his first season with the Chiefs. He was suspended for the first 4 or 6 games, and then he ended up getting hurt in the playoffs. But he was a killer for the rest of the year. So I think he can definitely do it. So let's hope, Julia. Let's hope. Shout out Garrett Gross with the 10 bomb. Let's go, baby. I hope it's gross and not gross. I don't want to be a D-bag. But
you don't be gross about it.
Yeah, I don't want to be. Appreciate the 10, brother. Thanks for the support. But yeah, if you guys have any more questions, make sure to get them in the chat. We're going to be here for a few more minutes today. Appreciate all your support. Thanks for being here today, all that good stuff. Do us a favor, hit the like button if you haven't. Takes 2 seconds. Go back out, hit that like button, get back in the chat. Ask your questions, do what you got to do.
Steve, can I go ahead, finish your statement here. I know you're telling them important stuff.
I'm good. Go ahead.
Okay, I wanted to go and just run some of this by you. I just took an overview of everything that happened, and this goes back to the AFC West division question. Can I just name a few players that are guys coming into our division, and you just tell me like what's going on here? The Raiders took Ashton Genty. The Chargers took Omarion Hampton. The Broncos took R.J. Harvey. Okay, I thought R.J. Harvey was a little overdraft in the end of the second round, but the kid
he's
can play.
Also a guy like Ashton Gelati where everybody thought he was overdrafted, but there were teams that wanted him. Like he was evaluated differently by NFL scouts as he was Mel Kiper's.
You've also got here's some wide receivers coming into the division. Jack Besh went to the Raiders in the second round. That was a guy we liked. Keep adding on there, Raiders. Trey Harris from Ole Miss. I called him Ole Smith. Yeah. From Ole Miss. 6'3", 210. Went in the second round to the Chargers. Pat Bryant from Illinois. The Broncos. That was an overreach in the third round, I thought, but a lot of guys liked him. Deontay Thornton, 6'5", 205. Run a 4.3. Went to the Raiders in the fourth round. Keandre Lambert-Smith, Auburn, 6'1", 190. Run a 4.3. Went to the Chargers in the fifth round. It's insanity. All the guys that they brought into the division this year.
I'll tell you what I see. I think the formula they've all thought they needed, and if you go back and you look at the offseason signings from the AFC West teams in previous years, it was always, man, Patrick Mahomes is killing us. We got to beef this defense up. And they're always throwing money at defense and just patting the defense and patting the defense. And then they're like, I think they finally figured it out like, oh, shit, the Chiefs have a really good defense and we can't score. We can't win if we can't score.
Right, so let's score.
Yeah, they're trying.
Because the Chiefs can't score anymore.
I think you're seeing the tide turn there to where they're like, hey, man, we don't necessarily need to try to stop Patrick Mahomes because you're not going to completely stop Patrick Mahomes. Like, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are going to get there somehow, some way. You've seen it over the last couple of years with stagnant-ass offenses and everything else. They've still managed to get their points on the board and win a lot of football games. So I think the tide's turning there, and they're like, hey, we got to put some points up. So I kind of think that's what we're seeing there.
Yeah, I mean, you see the Broncos take Jahdae Barron in round one. Yeah. But honestly, that may be the only defensive player they took throughout the whole draft.
Yeah. Well, I mean, their defense was still top 2 in the league last year. If not number 1, them and the Eagles are probably up there fighting for it. Peter Ortiz says, we own the West. Bend the knee to KC. Hey, so far, that's how it is, and it's the way it's going to continue to be until somebody proves it, right? So, like, we can talk about them improving, and we can do all this and all that, but just going every offseason and saying, hey, this team's going to win the AFC West, this team, which is normally the Chargers. But I have seen the Broncos being thrown out there a few times this season by some analysts and stuff. I think it's just stupid. Like, I'm sorry, but if the Chiefs have won the last 9 of them, stop. I mean, you're not smart. If you say something over and over again until it happens, that doesn't make you right. Like, you're just dumb. You're persistent. But I think it's just kind of ignorant to not say the Chiefs own this division. And until it's proved otherwise, I think it's absolutely
You
ignorant
got to
to say
beat the
anybody
man
else.
to be the man, Steve. And
Yeah,
nobody's
absolutely.
beat the man yet.
Platinum OG says, "Who is your dark horse? Are you talking about Chiefs players or
Yeah,
teams or what?" We'll
let's
go
say
Chiefs
a dark
players.
horse on the Chiefs, Steve. Who's your dark horse right now to make this 53-man? Let's just do it that way.
Okay, let me think.
I've got one that's pretty obvious.
Go ahead.
I'm going to say Jake Brenningstool. That's
like
my
it.
dark horse.
Yeah.
Look, I don't know what's going on with Jared Wiley. He's still not practicing. We're just not 100% sure there. Like, he didn't get injured too much after Rashee Rice. Now, I do know the injuries were a little different, but there were still knee injuries. I think Rashee Rice, we got a little luckier with him. That was what our hope was. Like, nothing wrong with Jared Wiley, but I think we wanted Rashee Rice's injury to be a little bit less. But yeah, I think Brenningstool's got a real shot here, man. He's shown that he's very athletic. He's shown that he can get open in space and win those jump balls. He can win the 50-50. He's got strong hands. He doesn't short arm anything. He doesn't alligator arm it. Like, he'll go up and catch it. He's strong at the catch point. These are all things we thought, and I thought he was a Colston Loveland out of Michigan who turned out to go early in round one. I thought he was kind of like the poor man's Colston Loveland. And that's not a knock on Brenningstool, but he just didn't have the experience there. So I think Brenningstool's got a shot. I think he's got a real shot. Like, he's played very well. And again, this is OTAs. Nobody's hitting nobody yet. Let's see what happens when he gets hit.
But I think Jake Brenningstool is more of an offensive weapon than any of these other tight ends that we've talked about in the past years. Like, a lot of people thought there was a couple of guys last year and the year before. I can't even remember their names now. That's the funny part. But people thought they might crack the 53-man roster. You remember that?
Yeah.
I don't know why their names are evading me so bad right now. But I think Brenningstool's different than they were. Like, I don't think it's just a little flash in the pan camp thing. I think he's an actual offensive weapon. If you go watch his college tape, this kid is that. Now, he is lacking in blocking in a couple of little things. But, I mean, as far as just a pure offensive weapon, he is a wide receiver at the tight end position. And I think that I'm with you. Just for the sake of being different, I'll go defense. And I'll stick with a guy that I've already mentioned probably twice today. I'll say Kozai Izzard.
Izzard, I knew it.
Yeah, because, dude, I'm telling you, if you go watch his tape at Penn State, this kid gets the job done. Like, he's insane. Like, super explosive, penetrates constantly, always in the backfield, can get home on the quarterback. He's got that type of speed. And I think that we've needed to shore up the defensive line. We've needed guys like that for years now. And I understand that he's a UDFA, he wasn't drafted, but I think he was a very overlooked guy. If you look back who he was playing with at Penn State, all the other guys around him were high-profile dudes that were drafted in the first round. I mentioned two of them earlier with Abdul Carter and Chop Robinson. He was in there producing just as much as those guys were against the same competition. So I think that he definitely could be one that could sneak on this team. A lot of people like to talk about Fabian Levet, the UDFA from last year. I think it's a whole different world from that. Fabian Levet's a big guy that can maybe help be a run stuffer. Kozai Izzard can do all of this. And he's like a much different beast when it comes to actually getting some penetration on an offense and getting some pressure on a quarterback.
I think that both of the guys we named are definite dark horses, right? They're both number 4 on the depth chart. Because in front of Izzard, they've got Pinnell, they've got Norman Lott, and they've got Tui Pelotu, Marlin, the one they picked up last year. They've got all them ahead of him on the depth chart. And actually, if you want to go to the other side, they got Chris Jones, Jerry Tillery, Fabian Levet, and then Siaki Ika. So the Chiefs have got a lot there, Steve.
I wanted to point this one out. Can I point this one out real quick? Sam Loftus at Asa Pole. I like that one too. That guy's a monster tackle, bro. If you go watch him, the only thing that's probably the only reason he's a UDFA is just competition level. But that dude's insane. So I'm with you, Sam. I think he could be somebody who could sneak on that offensive line.
Yeah, he's. I think he's kind of like maybe like an Ethan Driscoll. He's not as like athletic. I don't think he's Ethan Driscoll.
How come
in a way,
Driscoll?
but
Driscoll. That's a Driscoll. How come Ethan Driscoll has not been at OTAs? What's up with that?
I have no idea.
Isn't
I
that
don't know.
odd for a guy that's like fringe? player and could potentially make the team?
Yeah, I mean, it's very possible. Maybe he was doing something, and I don't know. Maybe he was going on vacation with a family.
Maybe, but the thing with Asa Pole though is he's just a freaking monster. He's 6'7", like 6'7", 320 pounds, all kinds of power. So, I mean, I think he's like even a step up from Driscoll, right?
Yeah, he lacked in his tape, though. I will say, like, when I was watching Asa Pole, I thought that, in my opinion, I thought he was going to probably crack my top 20 tackles. And then the more I watched, I seen things I didn't love about him. Like, he gets a little too bendy. Sometimes that 6'7" hurts you. You start getting, like, your base and your technique starts getting really bad sometimes at 6'7". You start bending over from the hips a lot. And you'll be susceptible to,
you can
like,
be lazy,
edge
right?
rushers. Yeah. So, I mean, it is what it is. I think that's a good pick. That's a very good pick. He is our third left tackle right now on the depth chart. Another dark horse. You could go to wide receiver. There's some wide receivers. A lot of people say Tyquan Thornton's a dark horse. I love what Magdalena's doing. I just don't think it's going to be enough to crack the team. And that's the same with Jimmy Holiday, maybe even Elijah Badger. I don't see any of them being able to crack it unless that they're just like, look, we got to get rid of Sky Moore. That's the only way you're going to do it. And that's a possibility as well. Right. But I would stick to the offensive line as well.
Is Driscoll really 6'8"?
Driscoll's big.
Real? He's 6'8"?
Yeah, he's
I
just
thought
as tall.
Pole was taller than him. That's crazy. I didn't know that.
No, Driscoll was a big monster coming out. He played at U of L, not U of L, but he played in Louisville in high school.
In high school, yeah.
Yeah, he played right up the road from me.
I didn't know he was 6'8". That's insane.
Yeah, I actually scouted him, and I was like, dude, he could be like a little diamond in the rough kind of thing. And then the Chiefs ended up getting him off UDFA, so I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, I think Dalton Cooper, man.
Yeah, I was going to say Dalton Cooper would be a good one too.
Dalton Cooper, if he did not have that knee injury, again, another guy on the Chiefs because of an injury, he could play all 5 spots on the offensive line. He could be a nice little...
I think it was like 278 snaps at left tackle, 0 pressure, 0 sacks, nothing from Dalton Cooper.
He could be a nice little find there.
He's going to be a guard in the league. So, I mean, you have to think about that. If you can do that kind of damage on the outside, that's why I liked Wyatt Milam so much in this draft. I can't remember who ended up nabbing him, but that's a guy that let up 0 sacks at left tackle against some stiff competition, and he's going to be a guard. He's going to be an all-pro guard.
Yeah, he can flat out play guard.
Yeah. So maybe
Steve, can we go back just a few seconds before we wrap this up? I want to go back and talk about the corners for just one more second here. I'm looking at the depth chart right now, and this depth chart is insane with corners. There's a couple of names that we didn't even mention yet a few minutes ago when it comes to making that 6th. You still have Chris Rowland Wallace, who made the team last year. That's listed as a nickelback. He's not listed as a safety. So Chris Rowland Wallace made the team last year, and you didn't even include him. Melvin Smith Jr., the kid that you really liked, thought he's going to take the 7th round. He's on the team, and he's doing good things. He wasn't included in this.
A lot of good players, bro.
Dude, they have got a embarrassment of riches back there, in my opinion. It's going to be tough to snag the top 6, in my opinion, because you could go wrong. I think they went wrong a few years ago when they got rid of our boy from Western Kentucky and let him go over to the Browns. I think he was a prototypical Spags guy, and how they let him walk, I have no idea.
That was a miss. You're talking about Khalif Hallisey.
Yeah. That kid could play.
Dude, and he killed it the whole preseason, bro.
That was when we kind of determined that Andy and Spags and them kind of have an idea who they want, and I don't think preseason really matters that much.
You can't tell me right now that what Nazeeh Johnson did on the field last year, that Khalif Hallisey couldn't have done it better. I just don't. Huh?
Get burned?
You know what I'm saying?
Been burned a lot better.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know. That was crazy to me.
I thought getting rid of Khalif Hallisey was a huge swing and miss.
Like the Lonnie Johnson thing was one thing. Like that was a guy that was proven, but he kind of just fell off, and he's just not been able to get back to where he was. So I understand them letting him walk. But that Khalif Hallisey thing, bro, that one threw me for a loop, and he ended up going to the Browns and doing pretty well.
It didn't make a lot of sense because he was the big physical corner that Spags always loved, and you couldn't have asked. He could not have scripted himself a better off-season preseason.
I
bet you he thought for sure. He probably woke up on 53 cut day and probably was like, I'm a shoe-in here. I couldn't have scripted it any better.
Mike, he probably looked like was it Pedro Serrano when they were messing with him on Major League and they put the pink slip in there?
Oh, yeah.
And he was just really confused. That's what Karlaftis looked like, but it wasn't a trick.
No.
It was real.
Wild.
Got a freaking 20 bomb from Peter. Let's go, Peter. Peter's been killing it today, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for your support, brother. We appreciate you a lot, man. That does not go unnoticed. Appreciate all you guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking, subscribing, all that good stuff. Do us a favor. Share us out on your social media. Share us out with your friends. Get the word of mouth going. Let's try to build this thing up. We're going to go all in on it this season. Hopefully we can get over that hump, baby, and get this thing trucking along, man. It's going to be a fun ride. Going to be a fun year. Chiefs are going to make another run at the Super Bowl. Let's see if we can go 4 in a row, baby. I actually said that on a short that I was just talking to the members, but, you know, as a channel, this is our 4th season. So far, we are 100% on getting to the Super Bowl. As you know, as long as we've been a channel, the Chiefs have been in the Super Bowl every season. So let's go ahead and make it still 100%, but we want to go to 75% on wins. We're not losing no more Super Bowls, okay?
No more losses.
No more losses. But yeah, I appreciate all you guys. Do us a favor. Hit the like button on the way out if you haven't. Just takes a quick second. It's a huge favor to us. It helps us out. Helps us get out to more people. Also, you guys that donated and gifted out memberships today. Once again, thank you guys. We appreciate that. It helps us big time. And we'll be putting out a lot more content, so keep an eye out. Subscribe if you haven't. All that good stuff. If you'd like to join our memberships, you can do that starting at $4.99. Join.allchiefedup.com. If you're having trouble finding the button on our actual page, because YouTube's a slap nut sometimes, but you can go to join.allchiefedup.com and cash in on some of those perks. And we appreciate you guys. We'll see you next time.
Wow.